Hi maestros, long time no see. Yes, talking about another side of my journey. This is more like the early period. You'll find this video helpful if you're just starting out or you're trying to break in. Maybe, just maybe, narrating my experience, you might pick a thing or two which you might find helpful. In this video, I'll be narrating my experience by answering some questions. Feel free to skip to the question you're most interested in. And if there are more questions which you think I did not cover, do drop them in the comments below. I might make a video also answering those questions. How did you get your first tech job? The straightforward answer to this will be I got it through one of my guy. For the story on how this happened, on that day I went to visit him and we were having conversations like we usually do. Then he mentioned that he's currently interning with one company, a startup, and I was curious about it, asking how is it, how is the company, how is it finding it. He gave me a detailed description and what it is like, and he mentioned that the learning curve there is amazing. Also, the quality of the engineers there are pretty much good. I inquired about openings and what have you, and they mentioned that honestly they were looking for experienced engineers. But the good side to it was, being a startup, you could also get to wear different hats, which I was particularly interested in, and we were discussing on if it would be possible to do both back-end and DevOps then. So we had this conversation going on, okay, yeah, you could definitely do both back-end and DevOps, and since it's a startup, there's actually more rooms to take on more stuff depending on how competent you are or how easy it is to handle these things. So after the discussion, well, we decided that, okay, yeah, we can definitely apply for it. He was like, yes, I should give it a shot. So he gave me the details of the CTO, which are like the mail address and also the LinkedIn info for the CTO. This conversation actually happened a month before I actually did apply. The reason being I needed to have a plan on how to best approach this. With the details of the CTO means I have someone inside to reach out to. Also, he did send me the job descriptions for both the back end and the DevOps role. Here was my plan. Before that, before I delve into my plan, I was also a bit skeptical about if a month is too much and the job openings would have closed. He told me they don't really get much applicants, and yeah, a month is fine if that's what will take you to get comfortable with the tech that we're using. I checked the job description and I crafted out a plan. My plan was to build a project of the tools or skills listed within the job description for both the backend and the DevOps. So I built a project. It was a CRUD app and they were using Java, which I wasn't comfortable with. So first I had to learn basic syntax of Java. I just followed a video on YouTube on how to learn the basic syntax of Java. Once I was a bit comfortable, they were using Spring Boot. Another video, mind you, it was just a single video, just one video. I picked up a simple video on Spring Boot on how to build a simple REST API with Spring Boot. Now that I had these two, then I decided to build just another project, which was a CRUD app, but this was more for like a bookstore, if I could recall correctly. And I built that, added like 2 or 3 different features. I pushed it to a repo. I also added screenshots, like if you were consuming the endpoint on Postman, what the results would be. Basic stuff, nothing too fancy, and I just documented that. I pushed it to a repo. Now at the end, I listed some of the tools I used, which was exactly similar to the tools or technology listed on their job descriptions. They mentioned Spring Boot, Spring Data, JPA. They mentioned a couple of things. I think the only thing I did not use was they were using Postgres. I was using MySQL, which didn't matter as the knowledge is applicable. Now that I had a project to show and I could show that, hey, I have like foundational knowledge of your tech stack, and to an extent, I also add familiarity with some cloud tech like AWS and Azure. So what I did next was, this took a month to build for the project and all. What I did next was I reached out, I cold mailed the CEO, which if I could get the screenshot stuff working, I would show the screenshot of the mail I sent. I reached out to the CTO, I cold mailed him. First, I connected with him on LinkedIn. Then I sent a message, he wasn't responsive, but he did accept my connection request. Next thing I did was I cold mailed him, crafted the message, then I attached my CV and I attached the link to different profiles like my LinkedIn and my GitHub. So I sent that a particular day in the morning. I tried to send it early. Then, interesting, I got a response from him. Close of business that day, I got a response from him saying he has received it and he would let me know. He did reach back to me telling me I should pick a time slots for an interview. So I had the first interview with him, and this is where it gets interesting. After the first interview, he gave me a feedback saying, hey, they don't employ new engineers, they are looking for senior engineers, but here's what you can do. Currently in their DevOps, they would need like someone with just basic experience there. Say if you truly understand your way around things, yeah, they can definitely have someone there. So the plan was to just try and join in to the DevOps, and I inquired on the first interview whether it's possible to do both backend and DevOps. He said yes, sure, he would really be happy to have that, and it's not a big deal as long as you can handle it. That there is a lot of work. So the first interview went well. He asked me basic questions, some logic, some simple algorithmic questions. After that, the next plan was to schedule an interview with the DevOps engineer, the current DevOps engineer there, which I also told him that, okay, yeah, I'm down for it. So he told me the person would reach out. He did send an interview invite. I joined, but no one joined. I reached back to the CTO, hey, I was on this, and no one joined. He apologized for that and said he would get it fixed. Now, there was long silence after this period. There wasn't any response from anybody. There wasn't anything ongoing. I sent a couple of mails. I got no response. But one thing I can recall that I consistently did was I kept on reaching out to him every week. So eventually, he did reply and he apologized, which is understandable since work can be hectic. So he apologized and said, yes, okay, we can have the last interview. So he scheduled another interview with someone totally different. I had the final interview and also another long silence, which was like a week or two. I also did reach out to him after my final interview on feedback on whether I was going to get it or not. And few days later, he did reach out to me asking for some details and the offer came in. So one thing I noticed there was, first, ability to show that you have foundational knowledge of the tech stack the company is currently using, even if there isn't a direct opening for your experience level. Second, was consistently reaching out, because since I never got an official rejection, I took it on myself to consistently reach out to him and ask for updates, because truth be told, he is also busy and in startup things move fast, and it's very, very, very possible that he might have forgotten that, hey, he has an application going. So those were the two things I actually did in this case. And yes, my first proper tech job was a full-time role, and I got in to the company and I started the following month. This was how I got my first proper tech job. And the reason I'll call this one the first proper one was, before now, or before this one that I am currently talking about, I had worked on gigs or contract stuff, and there wasn't really any structure to things. It's usually if someone around wanted to work on something and you collaborated with the person, or you get gigs outsourced to you and you complete. So all those things, your expertise is like the ultimate level. There isn't, or there wasn't any structure to how code was written and produced. So this was why I referred to this one as the actual one. And also there were more experienced engineers that you could learn from, which made it the first proper one. Did you receive any mentorship or guidance early on? And how did it contribute to your journey? In terms of mentorship early on, there's someone who predominantly comes to mind. He was my lecturer in school. He was also really young, meaning he hadn't graduated that far back. And the relationship kicked off based on he was understanding and he could relate to the student problems more and was willing to help out in terms of gaining practical skills. So he had also worked in different places, which was a plus. And how did he contribute to my journey? There was structure. So in terms of structure, he could provide like a term of structure on how to approach things, especially relating to tech, on like do A, do B, do C, then the other things will fall in place. There was also a bit of guidance and alignment, meaning you tend to understand how best to look at these things and not jump on the new shiny stuff. He was also flexible with me, meaning I had a year where I just explored different parts of tech. I explored different things. I tried front, back, game development, data science, and what have you. And that was really crucial for the following year when I had to just narrow it down to specific stuff I deeply found interesting and wanted to actually get good at or learn. Also, there was a bit of collaboration. I collaborated with him on some projects which also helped my technical skills. So all those things really did contribute in a way, because from collaboration you get teamwork. If you have structure, you don't have to bother much with a lot of things and you sort of have a plan. Also, in terms of orientation, during our discussion, sometimes you get to understand what the reality is in the outside world there. which was quite different from when you were in school. So these were some of the things I gained from that mentorship, and it was impactful. Another good question to have would be how to get a mentor, or how did I find him? For me, it was just in school. If you can't really find a mentor, it's totally fine. There isn't really any need. Just start, and as you start and make progress, people find you.